The emergency transmission crackled through Ambassador Diana Ross's earpiece at exactly 0300 hours. She had been awake anyway, unable to sleep after the rumors started spreading through Station Harmony's diplomatic quarters. Now those rumors were about to become reality, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. All representatives to the Grand Chamber immediately, the automated voice announced in 12 different languages. Diana pulled on her formal jacket and rushed through the curved corridors of the station, her heart pounding against her ribs. The Grand Chamber was already packed with representatives from 40 different species when she arrived. The air smelled wrong, thick with the chemical signatures of fear and excitement mixing together. Diana pushed through the crowd until she found the human section, a small cluster of chairs near the back. Typical. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Tribunal 30 years ago, and they still treated Earth like children playing at politics. At the center of the chamber stood the Chitauri magistrate, his insect body gleaming under the bright lights. Beside him loomed 3 Drajan judges, their reptilian scales shifting colors with satisfaction. Diana felt her stomach drop. The Drajan were here. That meant this trial was already over before it started. "We convene this emergency session to deliver justice," the magistrate announced, his mandibles clicking between words. 3 human military officers have been found guilty of violating Galactic Law Section 47, Paragraph 12. Unauthorized military action resulting in the death of registered citizens of a tribunal member species. The massive screens around the chamber flickered to life. Diana recognized the 3 figures immediately. General Robert Hayes, his gray hair cut military short, stood with his shoulders back despite the chains on his wrists. Beside him, General Patricia Okonkwo kept her dark eyes fixed straight ahead, refusing to look at her captors. General David Liu completed the trio, his weathered face showing neither fear nor regret. These criminals, the Drajan judge hissed, launched an unprovoked attack on Drajan peacekeeping forces operating near the colony world of New Virginia. Their actions resulted in the deaths of 43 Drajan soldiers. Diana shot to her feet. Those soldiers were raiders attacking civilian settlements. The general saved 40,000 lives. "Sit down, Ambassador," the magistrate commanded. "The evidence has been reviewed. The decision is final." Final. Diana's voice cracked. "You haven't even let us present a defense." Those generals responded to a distress call. They protected innocents. They violated protocol. The Drajan judge interrupted. They should have filed a request for tribunal intervention. They should have waited for proper authorization. Instead, they acted like savages, like their entire species acts, always rushing to violence without thought for proper procedure. Diana watched helplessly as the screen shifted to show the generals being led into separate chambers. Her hands gripped the railing in front of her so hard her knuckles turned white. General Hayes spoke first, his voice carrying clearly through the audio feed. "I'd do it again. Every single time. Those were families down there. Children. We heard their screams over the radio. No piece of paper, no bureaucratic process is worth more than innocent lives." "You admit your guilt, then," the Chitauri magistrate said. "I admit I'm proud of what we did," Hayes replied. "History will remember who saved lives and who hid behind laws while people died." General Okonkwo stepped forward in her chamber. "My grandfather told me stories about when powerful people made rules to protect themselves, not others. He taught me that some rules deserve to be broken. I broke your rule. I'd break it again." Defiant to the end, one of the Drajan judges muttered. "This is what happens when primitive species are given too much freedom too quickly." General Liu said nothing. He simply stood straight, met the camera with steady eyes, and gave a small nod. It was enough. Diana understood. They had discussed this possibility. They knew the risk when they jumped in to help. They went anyway. "The sentence is death," the magistrate announced, "to be carried out immediately as a message to all species who think themselves above galactic law." Diana screamed. She actually screamed, her voice joining a few others in the chamber. But most of the representatives sat silent, watching with clinical interest or complete indifference. This was politics to them, a lesson being taught, a younger species being put in its place, the execution chambers filled with pale blue gas. The three generals stood firm, not fighting, not begging. General Hayes closed his eyes. General Okonkwo lifted her chin higher. General Liu mouthed something that looked like "tell them we were right." It took 47 seconds. Diana counted every one of them, burning the number into her memory. 47 seconds to murder 3 heroes because they saved lives without permission. When it was done, the magistrate turned to face the chamber. Let this serve as instruction. The Drajan Confederation has filed for reparations from Earth in the amount of 5 billion credits. Payment is due within 90 days. Any other species considering unauthorized military action should remember this day. Diana barely heard the rest. Her hand shook as she pulled out her encrypted communicator, the one linked directly to Earth's Defense Council. She typed 3 words, deleted them, then typed 1 word instead. Martyred. She sent it and looked up at the screens, now showing the Drajan judges celebrating their victory with some kind of ceremonial drink. They were laughing, actually laughing while 3 bodies grew cold in execution chambers. The Chitauri magistrate approached Diana's section. Your government will comply with the payment schedule, Ambassador, and perhaps Earth will learn to follow proper channels in the future. Diana looked at him with eyes gone cold and flat. You have no idea what you just did. We enforce the law, the magistrate replied, already turning away. Nothing more. Diana watched him go, watched all of them leave the chamber chattering about lunch plans and trade negotiations like they hadn't just watched 3 people die. She stood alone in the empty chamber for a long time, staring at the dark screens. Back on Earth, her message was being received, being read, being understood. The galaxy had just taught humanity a lesson. Soon, very soon, they would learn that some lessons cut both ways. The tribunal thought they had ended a problem today. Diana knew better. They had started something that wouldn't end until the entire galaxy understood one simple truth about humanity. Never kill the ones trying to save lives. Not when humans are watching. Not ever. President Sarah Williams had not slept in 36 hours. The coffee on her desk had gone cold 3 times already, replaced each time by an aide who knew better than to speak unless spoken to. The underground command center in Geneva hummed with activity as officers moved between stations, their faces grim and focused. The footage had been playing on every screen across Earth for 12 hours now. 47 seconds of execution, looped endlessly. 3 generals dying because they saved 40,000 civilians. The numbers didn't add up, not in any moral math that made sense to human minds. Madam President, Admiral Richard Foster entered the room, his uniform crisp despite the hour. Behind him came the other members of Earth's Unified Defense Council. 11 people who together commanded the most powerful military force humanity had ever assembled. We're ready for your decision. Sarah looked at each of them in turn. Some showed anger, others cold determination. A few looked scared, and she respected them most of all. Fear meant they understood what they were about to do. Understanding meant they had counted the cost and come anyway. Show me the numbers again, she said quietly. Admiral Foster pulled up the holographic display. Intelligence confirms the Drajan expected us to pay the fine and accept new restrictions on our military. The tribunal believes we'll fall in line like every other species does. They think we're soft because we try diplomacy first. They think wrong. General Amanda Cole spoke from the far end of the table. Our people are ready. Every colony, every station, every ship. They're waiting for the word. Sarah stood and walked to the window overlooking the command center. Thousands of people worked down there, coordinating fleets across dozens of systems. 30 years ago, humans couldn't even leave their own solar system. Now, they had colonies on 47 worlds, stations around 100 more, and ships everywhere in between. The galaxy had underestimated how fast humans could move when they decided to move. What about the other species? Sarah asked. Which ones support the tribunal's decision? Public statements from 23 species supporting the execution, Admiral Foster replied. 31 staying neutral. 15 privately contacted us expressing sympathy, but won't make public statements. And the Lamari sent a coded message saying they've been waiting for someone to stand up to the tribunal for 200 years. Sarah turned back to face the council. Outside the window, she could see memorial services being broadcast from every continent. Beijing, Lagos, Sao Paulo, New York, Mumbai, every major city filled with millions of people holding candles for three generals they had never met but now would never forget. They wanted to teach us a lesson, Sarah said softly. They wanted to show humanity its place in their galaxy. They wanted us to bow down and accept that saving lives matters less than following their laws. She placed her hands flat on the table and leaned forward. Every eye in the room locked onto her face. General Hayes saved my niece, Sarah continued. She was on New Virginia visiting friends when the raid started. Patricia Okonkwo pulled her out of a burning building. David Liu's ships provided cover while the transports evacuated. My niece is alive because three generals ignored proper protocol and did what was right. Her voice hardened. They executed heroes. They murdered good people for the crime of protecting innocents. And they expect us to pay them for the privilege of losing our best. Madam President, the Secretary of Defense spoke carefully. Once we start this, there's no taking it back. This means war. Real war. Total war. I know, Sarah replied. Admiral Foster, what are our actual capabilities compared to what the tribunal thinks we have? A thin smile crossed Foster's face. They think we have 200 warships and basic defensive positions. In reality, we have 700 ships fully operational, another 300 in advanced construction, and every major human settlement fortified to military standards. They think our weapons are 20 years behind theirs. They're wrong. We've been developing combat technology in secret since we joined their little club. Why, someone asked. If we planned for this, why join the tribunal at all? Because we hoped for peace, Sarah answered. We hoped the galaxy had evolved past the mistakes Earth made centuries ago. We hoped wrong. So now we use the preparation we made while hoping we'd never need it. She straightened and looked at each council member one final time. Vote. Do we accept their judgment and pay the fine? Or do we show them what humanity becomes when you kill our heroes? The vote was unanimous. 11 hands raised. 11 voices saying yes to war. Sarah nodded and turned to the communications officer. Open a channel to every human settlement, every colony, every ship. Broadcast across all frequencies. The officer worked quickly. Channel open, Madam President. You're live to every human in the galaxy. Sarah looked directly into the camera. Somewhere, billions of people were watching, waiting, grieving, ready. This is President Sarah Williams speaking to all of humanity across all our worlds. 12 hours ago, the Galactic Tribunal executed Generals Robert Hayes, Patricia Okonkwo, and David Liu. Their crime was saving 40,000 innocent lives without asking permission first. Their punishment was death. She paused, letting the words sink in. The tribunal expects us to pay 5 billion credits in reparations. They expect us to accept restrictions on our military. They expect us to learn our place and never again act without their approval. Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice cut like steel. We reject their judgment. We reject their authority. We reject a system that values paperwork over human lives. Effective immediately, Earth recalls all ambassadors from tribunal space. All trade agreements are suspended. All diplomatic relations are severed. The command center had gone completely silent. Every person stopped working to watch their president declare war on the galaxy. Furthermore, Sarah continued, Earth hereby declares total war on the Drajan Confederation for their role in the murder of our people. Any tribunal species that aids the Drajan will be considered hostile. Any species that remains neutral will be respected and protected. She leaned closer to the camera. They wanted to teach us a lesson. They will learn one instead. You don't kill humans for saving lives. You don't execute heroes and expect us to thank you. And you definitely don't threaten Earth and think we'll back down. Sarah's expression shifted, showing the grief beneath the anger. Hayes, Okonkwo, and Liu died doing what was right. We honor them by finishing what they started. We honor them by showing the galaxy that humanity protects the innocent. Consequences be damned. All military forces are now at DEFCON 1. All colonies activate emergency protocols. All ships report to your designated rally points. This is not a drill. This is war. She cut the transmission and turned to Admiral Foster. How long until we can strike? First wave can launch in 6 hours, Foster replied. We'll hit them before they even finish celebrating. Sarah nodded. Make it happen. And Admiral, send a message to the tribunal. Tell them they have 47 seconds to think about what they've done. 1 second for each second our people suffered. As the room exploded into coordinated chaos, Sarah returned to the window. Far above, she could see transport ships beginning to move, their lights bright against the night sky. Across the solar system, across dozens of systems, humanity was waking up, not as scattered colonies and competing nations, but as one unified species with one unified purpose. The galaxy was about to learn what total war meant, and they would learn it from the species that invented the concept. War Master Krell enjoyed his morning ritual. Hot mineral bath, careful grooming of his crimson scales, reviewing reports while eating live prey. The Drajan Confederation fortress world of Drazik orbited a binary star system, and the double sunrise painted his office in shades of orange and gold. Life was good for those who understood that power made its own rules. His communication console chirped. Probably more congratulations from the fleet commanders. The execution of those human generals had been broadcast across the entire Confederation. A clear message that the Drajan did not tolerate interference, even from species with delusions of importance. War Master, his aide entered, lowering his head in respect. We're receiving unusual reports from Outpost 77. Krell waved a clawed hand dismissively. Define unusual. They detected a human fleet entering their sector. 15 ships, moving at high speed, but not attacking. Omans. Krell laughed, a harsh clicking sound. Probably running supplies between their colonies. Or maybe coming to apologize and beg for mercy. How many ships does 77 have? 8 warships, War Master. But regulations state we should inform you of any human military movement. Krell turned back to his meal. Wake me if they do anything remotely interesting. Otherwise, let the outpost commander handle it. 20 minutes later, the aide burst through the door without knocking. His scales had paled to almost white. War Master, Outpost 77 is under attack. The humans opened fire without warning, without any communication. They just started shooting. What? Krell stood, knocking his breakfast table over. Put on screen. Now. The holographic display showed chaos. Outpost 77, a military station housing 2,000 Drajan soldiers, was being torn apart. The human ships moved in coordinated patterns, their weapons firing with mechanical precision. Missiles streaked through space, followed by streams of solid metal projectiles that punched through Drajan shields like they weren't even there. Why aren't our shields stopping those? Krell demanded. The humans are using kinetic weapons, War Master, railguns, and explosive missiles. Our shields were designed to deflect energy beams. These weapons just punch straight through. Krell watched in growing horror as a human ship rolled inverted, fired a spread of missiles at the outpost reactor core, then accelerated away before the station's weapons could track it. The missiles hit 3 seconds later. The reactor went critical. Get our ships out of there, Krell ordered. Full retreat. But the human ships had already anticipated the move. They positioned themselves along every escape route, firing with surgical accuracy. Drajan warships exploded or went dark, their crews dead before they understood what was happening. The entire battle lasted 40 minutes. When it ended, Outpost 77 was a debris field spreading slowly across the void. 2,000 Drajan soldiers, 8 warships, and the outpost itself were gone. The humans suffered 0 casualties. 0 ships, even damaged. Then came a message. A simple text transmission in perfect Drajan language, repeating on all frequencies. For Hayes. For Okonkwo. For Lu. This is only the beginning. Krell felt his blood run cold. Where are the human ships now? They jumped to FTL, Warmaster. We're trying to track their heading, but they split up, went in 6 different directions. Over the next 8 hours, the nightmare continued. Human strike forces hit Drajan positions across 12 systems. Supply depots, communications arrays, mining operations, patrol routes. Each attack was swift, brutal, and completely one-sided. The humans didn't try to capture anything. They didn't demand surrender. They just destroyed and moved on. Commodore James Park commanded the task force that hit Outpost 77. His ship, the UHNS Defiant, was an older model by Earth standards, but cutting-edge compared to most galactic vessels. Right now, it was jumping toward target number 4 on his list. "Sir, we're getting transmissions from the target," his communications officer reported. "They're offering to surrender." Park didn't even look up from his tactical display. "Ignore it. All weapons. Prepare to fire on my mark." "Sir," the officer hesitated. "They're surrendering. Galactic Convention states we have to accept." Park finally looked at the young officer. His expression was carved from stone. "We're not following Galactic Convention. We're following Earth's rules now. And our rules say you don't get to raid human colonies, kill civilians, then hide behind protocol when consequences arrive. Fire all weapons." The Defiant and its sister ships opened fire. The Drajan facility was military, staffed by soldiers who had participated in raids on human settlements. Park felt no guilt watching it burn. Next target, he ordered as his ship jumped back to FTL. Back on Drazik, Warmaster Krell was frantically calling every commander in the Confederation. "I need fleet positions. All of them. Now." The tactical display showed the scope of the disaster. 12 attacks in 8 hours. The humans were hitting targets that should have taken weeks to reach, appearing out of nowhere and vanishing just as quickly. Their weapons ignored Drajan defenses. Their ships moved faster and fought harder than anything in the Confederation's database. "How is this possible?" Krell muttered. "They only have 200 ships. We have 3,000. His senior strategist approached cautiously. "Warmaster, our intelligence was wrong. Earth has been hiding their true military capability. These ships use technology we didn't know they possessed. Their tactics are unlike anything in our combat archives." "Then update the archives. Find their weakness." "There's another problem, Warmaster." The strategist pulled up casualty reports. "We've lost 19 ships and 4 outposts. The humans have lost nothing. Not one ship damaged. Not one casualty reported." Krell's scales flushed dark with rage. "That's impossible. Even surprise attacks result in some losses. Not for them, apparently. Warmaster, I recommend we request tribunal intervention. This is escalating beyond our ability to control." "Absolutely not." Krell slammed his fist on the desk. "We are the Drajan Confederation. We don't ask for help from bureaucrats. Mobilize the home fleet. All 300 ships. We'll crush them with numbers. And if numbers aren't enough..." Krell fixed his strategist with a hard stare. "Then we find out what happens when you push humans too far. But I guarantee you, they'll break before we do. No species fights forever. Eventually they get tired. They lose stomach for war. They accept peace. Humans are no different." The strategist wanted to point out that humans had just executed a perfectly coordinated multi-system assault hours after declaring war, showing zero hesitation and zero mercy. He wanted to mention that the human message made it clear this was personal, not political. He wanted to say that maybe, just maybe, they had badly underestimated the species that took over 47 star systems in just 30 years. But Warmaster Krell had already turned away, already calling for fleet mobilization. So the strategist stayed silent and hoped they would survive what came next. Across the galaxy, other species were watching the reports with growing concern. The humans weren't following any known rules of engagement. They weren't offering terms or demanding concessions. They were simply destroying everything Drajan in an expanding wave of violence that showed no signs of stopping. And the message kept repeating, broadcast from the wreckage of every target. "For Hayes. For Okonkwo. For Lu. This is only the beginning." Station Harmony had never experienced panic before. For 300 years, The massive structure orbiting a neutral star served as the seat of galactic government. Representatives from 70 species lived and worked in its gleaming corridors, making decisions that affected trillions of beings. The station was supposed to be untouchable, sacred, neutral ground where even blood enemies met peacefully. Today, fear crawled through those corridors like poison gas. Order! Order! The Chitauri magistrate's voice barely cut through the chaos, filling the grand chamber. Representatives shouted over each other in a dozen languages, their translators struggling to keep up. 3 days of watching humans systematically dismantle Drajan military positions had shattered everyone's sense of security. A Lamari representative, her crystalline body refracting the chamber lights into rainbow patterns, stood trembling. 27 targets destroyed. The humans show no signs of stopping. They refuse all communication. This is unprecedented. They're animals, one of the Drajan judges hissed. Savages who don't understand civilized warfare. We told you this would happen if younger species were given too much freedom. You told us many things, a quiet voice spoke from the back. Ambassador Diana Ross stepped forward, her face carefully neutral. You told us the execution would teach humanity a lesson. How's that working out? The Drajan judge's scales flushed angry red. Your species is committing atrocities, attacking without warning, refusing surrender, ignoring every convention of warfare. You prove our point about human barbarism. Diana met his eyes without flinching. You executed 3 people for saving 40,000 lives. Without trial, without appeal, without mercy. And you expected us to just accept it? To thank you for teaching us our place. Enough. The magistrate interrupted. We must focus on solutions. The tribunal proposes an immediate resolution. Economic sanctions against Earth, a military blockade, and authorization for member species to use force in restoring order. 17 species raised their hands in immediate support. The Drajan judge smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Diana pulled out her communicator and sent a coded message. 3 simple characters. Then she looked at the magistrate. You're making a mistake. The vote will proceed, the magistrate replied. All in favor of Resolution 774, authorizing military action against Earth. Hands rose across the chamber. 23 species supporting, 11 opposed, the rest abstaining. The math was clear. The resolution passes, the magistrate announced. Effective immediately, Earth is declared in violation of galactic peace. Member species are authorized to deploy peacekeeping forces. The Drajan Confederation will coordinate military operations with tribunal oversight. Diana stood motionless, watching them celebrate what they thought was victory. Fools, all of them. They had no idea what humanity was capable of when pushed to the edge. Her communicator vibrated. Message received. She allowed herself the smallest smile. I have terms from Earth, Diana announced loudly. The chamber fell silent. President Williams authorized me to present humanity's conditions for immediate ceasefire. They want to negotiate. The magistrate sounded surprised. Perhaps they've realized the futility of opposing the entire galaxy. Diana pulled up the document and read it aloud. Earth demands the following. Return the remains of Generals Hayes, Okonkwo, and Liu for proper burial with full military honors. Public apology from the Tribunal and Drajan Confederation acknowledging the generals saved innocent lives. Reparations paid to Earth in the amount of 50 billion credits for emotional damages. Complete restructuring of tribunal authority to prevent future executions without proper defense. And finally, the Drajan Confederation will demilitarize all forces within 10 light years of human territory. Silence. Then laughter. The Drajan judge actually laughed. Those are demands from a losing party. Your species controls 47 systems. The tribunal represents 3,000 systems. Your mathematics are terrible. We reject these absurd terms, the magistrate declared. Earth has 48 hours to cease all military operations and submit to tribunal authority. Otherwise, the full force of galactic civilization will respond. Diana nodded slowly. I'll pass along your response. But understand something. You're not negotiating from strength. You're standing on the edge of a cliff, and you don't even know it. Empty threats, the Drajan judge sneered. Take your human arrogance, and every light in the chamber went red. Emergency alarm screamed. The magistrate's console erupted with urgent messages. Unknown contacts detected. The station security chief announced over the intercom. Multiple vessels decloaking around the station. They're broadcasting human identification codes. The main view screen activated, showing the space around Station Harmony. 50 warships hung in perfect formation, surrounding the station like predators circling prey. Every weapon was armed. Every targeting system was locked on the station's critical points. Diana's communicator chimed. She answered it, and Admiral Richard Foster's voice filled the chamber through the station's audio system. Good morning, Tribunal. My name is Admiral Foster, United Human Naval Forces. Sorry to drop in unannounced, but you seem busy voting to attack my home. The magistrate found his voice. This is an act of war. You're threatening neutral territory. This station houses 12,000 beings from 70 species. I'm aware, Foster replied calmly. I can see them all on my scanners. 12,347 to be exact. Want to know something interesting? My weapons can destroy this station in approximately 90 seconds. I wouldn't, of course. Humanity doesn't target civilians. He paused, letting that sink in. But we could. That's the point. You sit here making decisions about life and death, war and peace, thinking you're safe, thinking you're untouchable. You're not. Nobody is. Not from us. One of the representatives screamed. Others ran for the exits. The Drajan judge tried to activate the station's defensive systems, but found them already disabled by human electronic warfare. Here's what's going to happen. Foster continued, his voice hard as titanium. You voted to authorize force against Earth. Fine. That's your choice. But understand the consequences. Every species that joins this peacekeeping force becomes our enemy. Every ship sent against us will be destroyed. Every military asset that threatens human territory will be eliminated. You can't fight the entire galaxy, the magistrate protested weakly. Watch us, Foster shot back. You want to know why we're good at war? Because Earth taught us. 5,000 years of human history, filled with wars so brutal they make your little confederation look like children playing soldier. We fought with sticks, stones, swords, bullets, bombs, and nuclear fire. We've destroyed ourselves a dozen times and rebuilt every single time. War isn't new to us. It's our oldest teacher. Diana watched the representatives' faces. Fear replaced anger. Understanding replaced arrogance. You executed our generals for saving lives, Foster said quietly. You thought it would break us. Instead, it united every human across 47 systems. We haven't been this united since we left Earth. So thank you for that. You created the one thing we needed most. What do you want? The magistrate asked, defeated. 48 hours, Foster replied. You gave us 48 hours to surrender. We're giving you the same. Accept our terms or watch us dismantle the Drajan Confederation piece by piece until there's nothing left but dust and regret. And just so we're clear, we can reach you anywhere, anytime. This station, your homeworlds, your fleets. We've been mapping every major tribunal position for 30 years. You planned this, Diana realized aloud. Since we joined, we hoped for peace, Foster answered. But we prepared for war. That's what smart species do. Now we're jumping out. You have 48 hours. Choose wisely. The human fleet vanished, jumping to FDL as suddenly as they appeared. The emergency alarms fell silent. The chamber lights returned to normal. But nothing felt normal anymore. The magistrate looked at Diana with something like respect mixed with fear. Your species is terrifying. No, Diana Corrective. We're protective. There's a difference. You threaten what we love. We responded. Simple as that. She walked toward the exit, then paused. 48 hours. I suggest you use them well. War Master Krell reviewed the assembled fleet with grim satisfaction. 300 warships filled the space around Drazik, the largest military force the Confederation had mobilized in 2 centuries. Enough firepower to crack planets. Enough ships to overwhelm any defense through sheer numbers. The humans had 85 ships defending their home system according to the latest intelligence. The math was simple. Final system checks complete. War Master, his tactical officer, reported. All ships ready for jump. Krell activated the fleet-wide channel. Commanders, we jump to the Sol system in 5 minutes. Our objective is clear. Disable the human home fleet, destroy their orbital infrastructure, and force immediate surrender. They wanted war. We'll give them war they can't win. Around him, his bridge crew worked with efficient purpose. Young warriors eager to prove themselves. Veterans who remembered when the Drajan controlled 20 systems instead of the current 12. All of them united in restoring their species' reputation. The tribunal had tried to stop this attack. Weaklings arguing for more negotiations, more chances for peace. Krell ignored their messages. The humans needed to learn that threatening the tribunal had consequences. Humanity's home world burning would send that message clearly. Jump in 30 seconds, the navigator announced. Krell allowed himself a moment of anticipation. Soon, Earth would kneel. The species that dared challenge Drajan authority would beg for mercy. And perhaps, if they groveled convincingly enough, he would allow some of them to survive. Jumping now. The fleet entered FDL as one unified mass. 90 seconds later, they emerged at the edge of the Sol system. Contact. Sensors called out immediately. Human fleet detected. 87 ships. They're holding position near their 4th planet. Krell studied the tactical display. The human ships sat in a defensive formation, waiting. Predictable. All ships attack formation. Let's end this quickly. The Drajan fleet accelerated forward, spreading into assault patterns practiced for decades. 300 against 87. This would be over in an hour. Admiral Grace Howard watched the Drajan fleet approach from her command ship, the UHNS Indomitable. Around her, the bridge crew worked in calm silence. No panic, no fear, just professionals doing their jobs. Ma'am, they're dividing into 3 attack groups, her tactical officer reported. Standard encirclement pattern. Let them, Grace replied. Activate the defense grid. Across the Sol system, thousands of hidden weapons platforms powered up. Satellites that looked like communication relays revealed missile banks. Asteroids that seemed natural showed railgun batteries. The moon itself became a weapons platform, its surface studded with mass drivers and beam weapons that War Master Krell saw his sensor display suddenly fill with red hostile contacts. Hundreds of them. Thousands. What is this? The entire system is armed, War Master. They've turned their home into a fortress. Impossible. Our intelligence showed basic orbital defenses only. Our intelligence was wrong, sir. The first wave of missiles launched from Earth's defense grid. Not elegant energy weapons that could be deflected. Solid kinetic kill vehicles moving at significant fractions of light speed. Behind them came nuclear warheads, railgun rounds, and weapons Krell's sensors couldn't even identify. Evasive action. All ships scatter. But the human weapons were already tracking their targets. Missiles adjusted course mid-flight, hunting Drajan ships with mechanical determination. The defensive formation dissolved into chaos as ships tried to evade. A heavy cruiser on Krell's left flank exploded as 3 missiles punched through its shields and detonated inside the hull. A destroyer went dark, its power systems fried by an electromagnetic pulse. A battleship tried to run and got caught by lunar railguns, its engines torn apart by metal slugs moving faster than bullets. Return fire, Krell ordered desperately. The Drajan fleet unleashed their energy weapons, targeting the human ships still holding position. Beam weapons and plasma cannons, pride of Confederation technology, lanced out across the void. The human ships rolled and dodged with impossible precision, their movements coordinated like a single organism. When Drajan weapons hit, they struck shields that somehow held against sustained fire. Why aren't our weapons penetrating? Krell's tactical officer looked terrified. Their shields shouldn't be this strong. Admiral Howard allowed herself a cold smile. Because we actually invented new technology instead of resting on old victories. Activate the fleet. Time to show them what Earth ships can do. The human fleet broke formation and attacked. 87 ships moving like sharks through water, exploiting every gap in the Drajan formation. They used the system itself as a weapon, swinging around planets for gravitational assists, hiding behind asteroids, using the sun's radiation to mask their approach. Krell watched his fleet being torn apart. 40 ships gone in the first hour, 70 by the second hour. His warriors fought bravely, died bravely, but bravery didn't matter against enemies who fought with surgical precision and showed zero hesitation. War Master, we need to retreat, his second-in-command urged. We're losing too many ships. Retreat. Krell's pride fought against survival instinct. We still have numerical superiority. For how long? Sir, they've adapted to every tactic we try. It's like they're reading our minds. On the Indomitable, the tactical officer explained what the Drajan couldn't understand. Ma'am, their attack patterns match 17 different engagement scenarios we trained against. They're following their doctrine exactly. Grace nodded. Decades of studying galactic warfare. We knew how they'd fight before they even jumped into our system. Keep pressing the advantage. By the third hour, Krell's fleet had lost over 100 ships. The humans had suffered minor damage to 12 vessels and 0 casualties. 0, despite being outnumbered 3-1 at the start of battle. Signal retreat. Krell finally ordered, his voice hollow. All ships jumped to rally point 7. The surviving Drajan warships turned to run. They found human ships already positioned along the escape routes, waiting like they knew exactly where the Drajan would go. Admiral Howard opened a channel to the Drajan flagship. War Master Krell, this is Admiral Grace Howard. You came to our home. You planned to destroy our orbital infrastructure and force our surrender. Krell's face appeared on the screen, scales pale with fear. I request parley. Under galactic convention. Stop, Grace interrupted coldly. Generals Hayes, Okonkwo, and Liu requested parley. Your tribunal executed them anyway. You came here to burn our home. You don't get to hide behind rules you don't follow. Please, Krell's voice cracked. My warriors are dying. They chose to attack Earth. Choices have consequences. You have 2 options, War Master. Option 1, unconditional surrender. Your entire fleet, right now. Option 2, we destroy every single ship, including yours. Choose quickly. You have 30 seconds. Krell looked at his bridge crew. Young faces staring at him with hope that he could save them. Veterans who knew they were beaten. His entire fleet, the pride of the Confederation, reduced to begging for mercy. I surrender, he whispered. Unconditional surrender. Smart choice, Grace replied. Power down all weapons. Shut down all combat systems. Any ship that tries to run will be destroyed. Any ship that tries to fight will be vaporized. Do you understand? Yes. Over the next hour, 195 Drajan warships surrendered. The remaining ships tried to escape and were eliminated by human forces that seemed to anticipate every desperate move. Down on Earth, billions of people watched the battle through transparent government broadcast. They saw their defenders fight with courage and skill. They saw the enemy break against defenses built over 3 decades of careful preparation. They watched their home remain safe. President Williams stood at the window of her command center, looking up at the sky where ships fought and died far above. Her niece stood beside her, the girl saved by General Okonkwo's sacrifice. Did we win? The girl asked quietly. Sarah put an arm around her shoulders. Yes, sweetheart. We won. Earth is safe. What happens now? Now the galaxy learns that you don't threaten Earth. Not ever. In space, Admiral Howard surveyed the captured Drajan fleet. Nearly 200 ships, their crews now prisoners of war. War Master Krell himself sat in a holding cell, his arrogance finally broken. Ma'am, her communications officer reported. The tribunal is requesting emergency talks. They want to negotiate. Grace smiled without warmth. Tell them we'll talk when we're ready. Right now, we have a war to finish. The Battle of Seoul was over. Earth had defended its home against impossible odds and won decisively. The message would spread across the galaxy within hours. Humanity had arrived, and they were done asking for permission to exist. 3 weeks after the Battle of Sol, Station Harmony looked different. Human warships patrolled the space around it, not as conquerors but as guardians. The station itself had been repaired and expanded, with new sections designed to accommodate the restructured Galactic Council. The tribunal was gone, dissolved by unanimous vote of the species that once supported it. Ambassador Diana Ross stood at the window of the main observation deck, watching transport ships arrive carrying representatives from across the galaxy. Some came reluctantly, others eagerly. All came because they understood the new reality. "It's almost time," President Sarah Williams said, joining Diana at the window. The president had traveled from Earth specifically for this ceremony. Some moments demanded personal presence, not remote participation. "Are they ready?" Diana asked, referring to the 3 caskets in the memorial chamber below. "As ready as they'll ever be," Sarah replied softly. "Hayes, Okonkwo, and Lou are finally coming home." The ceremony began at exactly noon, station time. Representatives from 47 species filled the memorial chamber, standing in respectful silence. At the front, draped in human flags, sat 3 caskets containing the remains of the executed generals. The Chitauri magistrate, no longer holding authority but present as a witness, stood to speak first. His voice carried shame and regret. "The former tribunal committed a grave injustice. We executed 3 individuals whose only crime was protecting innocent life. We prioritized procedure over morality. We valued our authority over basic decency. For this, we apologize to humanity and to the memory of these fallen heroes." He bowed low, a gesture of deep respect in Chitauri culture. "May their sacrifice lead to a better galaxy." War Master Krell spoke next. He wore prisoner restraints, brought from detention specifically for this moment. His scales had lost their luster, his posture no longer proud. "I led the attack on New Virginia that General Hayes and his companions stopped. I planned to raid that colony for resources and slaves. They saved 40,000 lives at the cost of 43 Drajan soldiers." His voice cracked. "I called them criminals. I celebrated their execution. I was wrong. They were heroes, and I was the criminal. The Drajan Confederation formally apologizes and accepts all penalties for our actions." Krell was led away, back to detention where he would await trial under the new council justice system. This time, with proper defense and actual consideration of context, President Williams approached the podium. She had written and rewritten her speech a dozen times. In the end, she discarded all of it and spoke from the heart. Robert Hayes was a career soldier who believed military strength existed to protect the weak. Patricia Okonkwo joined the Navy because pirates killed her family, and she refused to let others suffer the same loss. David Liu commanded fleets, but never forgot that every ship held real people with real families waiting for them. She looked at the caskets. They died because they saved lives without asking permission first, because they valued 40,000 civilians more than they valued following rules that protected raiders and murderers. The old tribunal called this a crime. We call it heroism. Sarah turned to face the assembled representatives. Today, we establish the Galactic Council under new principles. Member species have equal representation regardless of how long they've been part of galactic civilization. Military action against civilians is prohibited absolutely, and no being can be executed without proper trial, proper defense, and review by multiple independent parties. She paused, letting the words settle. Humanity didn't want this war. We wanted peace. We wanted cooperation. We wanted to join the galactic community and contribute our strengths while learning from others. The old tribunal made that impossible when they executed our people for doing the right thing. Now we have a choice, Sarah continued. We can build something better, or we can repeat the same mistakes in a new form. Earth chooses to build. We invite all species who value justice over authority, protection over exploitation, to join us. The Lamari ambassador stood, her crystalline body glowing with emotion. The Lamari were attacked by raiders 16 times in the last 50 years. Each time we requested tribunal intervention. Each time they delayed, debated, and ultimately did nothing. Our people died while bureaucrats argued about jurisdiction. We thank humanity for showing that protecting innocence matters more than protecting bureaucracy. One by one, other ambassadors stood. The quiet species who had been ignored. The younger civilizations treated as inferior. The peaceful cultures preyed upon while the tribunal watched. 23 species formally requested human protection treaties. 15 more asked for military cooperation agreements. Diana watched it unfold with mixed feelings. Pride that humanity's sacrifice meant something. Sadness that it took war to achieve what diplomacy should have accomplished. Hope that maybe, just maybe, they had created something worth keeping. After the formal ceremony, Diana found herself alone in the memorial chamber with the 3 caskets. She placed her hand on each one in turn. "You saved my career," she whispered to Okonkwo's casket. "I was a junior diplomat on my first posting when raiders hit the embassy. You pulled me out of the rubble. I never got to thank you." She moved to Hayes. "You taught me that following orders isn't the same as doing right. That sometimes the most important choice is the one that costs you everything." Finally, Lou, "You always said peace was worth fighting for. I didn't understand that paradox before. I do now." The door opened. A young Drajan entered, no more than a teenager by their species standards. He approached carefully, nervous in Diana's presence. "I'm sorry to disturb you, Ambassador," he said in careful English. "I wanted to see the generals, to honor them." Diana studied him. "You're Drajan. Why honor human soldiers?" "My uncle was at New Virginia," the boy replied. "He was part of the raiding force. General Hayes' ships destroyed the transport he was on. He died in that battle." Diana tensed, unsure where this was going. The boy continued, "I hated humans for a long time because of that. Then I learned the truth. My uncle was going to New Virginia to steal and kill. Your generals stopped him. They saved 40,000 innocent people, including children my age. My uncle's death was his own fault, not yours." He placed a small crystal flower at the base of Okonkwo's casket. "This is a Drajan mourning flower. We give it to warriors who die honorably. Your generals died honorably. They deserve honor." Diana felt tears in her eyes. "Thank you. That means more than you know." The boy nodded and left quietly. Diana stood there for a long moment, thinking about enemies becoming allies, hatred becoming understanding, war creating the foundations for genuine peace. President Williams entered the chamber. "The transport is ready to take them home. Earth, Arlington National Cemetery. Full military honors. The largest memorial service in human history, probably. Every colony, every station, every ship will pause for a moment of silence when they're laid to rest." They walked together toward the exit. Behind them, an honor guard carefully loaded the caskets onto the transport that would carry 3 heroes home. "What happens now?" Diana asked. Sarah looked at her. "Now we make sure their sacrifice meant something. We protect the species that can't protect themselves. We stand against injustice wherever we find it. We prove that humanity's strength exists to serve, not to dominate. And if someone threatens us again..." Sarah's expression hardened. Then they learned the same lesson the Drajan learned. You don't kill humans for saving lives. You don't execute our heroes and expect us to bow. And you definitely don't threaten Earth and survive the consequences. They reached the observation deck one last time. Out the window, human ships patrolled alongside vessels from a dozen other species. The new Galactic Council fleet, united in purpose if not in origin. "Do you think it will last?" Diana asked. "This peace we've built, I think people remember what happens when it breaks," Sarah replied. "The galaxy learned that humans fight differently. We don't do limited wars or political conflicts. We do total war until the threat is eliminated. That's a powerful deterrent. But you hope we never have to do it again." "Every single day," Sarah confirmed. "Hayes, Okonkwo, and Lou died so others could live. Millions fought in the war that followed so billions could remain safe. Peace is always worth fighting for, but it's also worth maintaining. Far below, the transport carrying 3 caskets began its journey home. Across the galaxy, memorial services were already being planned. Children who would never meet the generals would learn their names. Historians would study the war that changed everything. Politicians would invoke their sacrifice when making decisions about justice and protection. 3 people died for doing the right thing. Their deaths united a species, toppled an unjust system, and created foundations for a better galactic civilization. Not a bad legacy for 3 soldiers who just wanted to save lives. Station Harmony's new designation glowed on its hull, Galactic Council Headquarters. Below it, newly installed, a plaque carried 3 names and a simple inscription. They saved lives. They paid the price. We remember. The galaxy would never forget, and it would never again make the mistake of thinking humanity would accept injustice quietly. Some lessons only needed to be taught once. Earth had taught that lesson well.